Welcome everyone. This is Joseph Dunn, the Provincial Director of Success by 6. I'm glad you're able to join us today for this important webinar to learn about awareness raising and just generally communicating to the families of British Columbia about the Registered Education Savings Plan, the Canada Learning Bond, and the BC Training and Education Savings Grant. In just a moment, I'll be turning it over to our presenter, my colleague Luke from SmartSAVER. But before we dive forward, just to remind you that this is the first of a series of Success by 6 provincial BC webinars that we'll be doing over the next 5 months. Each month we'll have a different webinar on a topic interesting and critical to the work of early years community development and planning. So I'll carry on with that after our webinar to let you know about what are some of these upcoming topics. But just to know that these are free and open webinars available for certainly people who are particularly engaged with early years community development, but for the entire early years community here in British Columbia. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Luke Connell from SmartSAVER, and he's going to walk us through the ins and outs of connecting parents with these learning bonds and grants, the processes involved. And I think it's particularly important, as Nicole mentioned, to ask any questions you might have so we can clarify how you can best communicate and connect with parents and be able to clarify this process for them so that we overcome any impediments to all families in BC being able to register and have this great opportunity for their children's future learning. So over to you, Luke.
Thanks for that excellent introduction, Joseph, and thanks, Nicole, for setting this webinar up. I think that's a great point to enter this conversation around RESPs, the Canada Learning Bond, and the BC Training Education Savings Grant. Because what we do at SmartSAVER, we're a national not-for-profit, and we build awareness and provide access to these grants for families. And our research has shown that the Canada Learning Bond only has about a 30% take-up rate. So only about 3 in 10 children who are eligible for this program have taken advantage of it. The BC Training and Education Savings Grant, which is for children turning 6 years old, so a perfect transition from Success by 6 in early years, has an even lower take-up rate as it's just being launched this past summer. So I think this is a great time to speak with you about this, as it's relatively virgin ground, and the awareness on these programs is quite low. Albeit the RESP is widely known, the grants that families can access are not. So today we're going to talk about these grants, how they're accessed. We'll talk about some of the myths and some of the barriers around RESPs. I'm sure many people on this webinar today have heard of RESPs, either through themselves, using them, or through families. And I'm sure not everyone has heard great things about RESPs. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different providers and the rules of RESPs and where the safest place to help families access these grants are. So with that, I will get going on our agenda. And I just wanted to mention quickly, Joseph mentioned this, we have a question portal on this webinar, so I will be keeping my eyes peeled there. And if something I mentioned today doesn't sound right, or you've heard something different, don't hold on to that. Ask the question and we'll address it right away. I think other people will most likely be thinking those things too. Because when I started working with SmartSAVER about 6 years ago, I wondered why everyone didn't have RESPs and why everyone didn't have the Canada Learning Bond. And what we'll do is we'll cover off some of those reasons today and overcome those barriers. So again, I've briefly touched on SmartSAVER and what we do. So we're a national not-for-profit. We were initially funded through the federal government to promote education savings and grants. And we're based in Toronto, but again, the work we do is national in scale. We promote education savings because we know it has a huge impact on children's likelihood to graduate and participate in post-secondary education. So I think for early years programmers and developers, this ties in perfectly because we know that setting the seed early for future education and future success has a great impact in whether that success will be met. Secondly, we'll talk about the Canada Education Savings Program, RESPs, the Learning Bond, the BCTSG, and the Matching Grant Program, which I'm sure many people are familiar with. That's the Canada Education Savings Grant. And then we'll talk about what's needed to access these grants, quickly go over smartsaver.org and our online RESP application, and we'll have some time for questions at the end. So the way SmartSAVER works, we are, again, not-for-profit. We provide multilingual information. So our website's available in 16 different languages. So it's all about providing financial literacy and building that confidence level for parents, not simply telling them where to go to get these grants. We offer an online RESP Starter in Canada Learning Bond application, and that does include the BC grant. So families can get their application started and get the RESP process begun. And we also provide phone and email support. And there's two sides to that. We provide a 1-800 number for families and for frontline staff. Families, typically, we help them sort out issues to do with their RESP, or if they're having questions, we can help answer them. And for frontline workers, we're able to offer in-person support, online support, material support. So feel free to contact us either directly or through Nicole or Joseph if you're looking for some materials or have any follow-up questions on how to implement our information in your community. So again, going back to quickly why it works, this is the stat that I love to share the most. And what we see with the lighter blue number on the bottom is that 50% of children without savings for post-secondary don't attend. So it's a 50-50 shot if a child doesn't have savings for post-secondary. What we do see, though, is a 50% increase in that, with as little as $3,000 put aside for a child post-secondary education. And what strikes me with this number is the number 3,000. When I talk to families about saving for education, you know, their sticker shock is often what throws them off from even starting. So they are under the impression that it costs tens of thousands of dollars for post-secondary education, which it can. But the research we have shows that even a small amount of savings can greatly change a child's mindset in terms of what they're able to accomplish. And you'll see here, this is provided by the federal government, this statistic. And this, to me, is the reason why we do this work. If we want children to succeed, savings is one of the best paths to seeing that happen. In terms of helping children start saving, this is what we're here to talk about today. So we have the RESP. And the RESP, I really like to describe as a jar. So we have that visual in the bottom right corner there of your screen. And there's 3 different ways that the government is contributing into that account. So on the top of our screen, we have the Canada Education Savings Grant. That is paired to family contributions. So if a family contributes, they're going to trigger that Canada Education Savings Grant. Most importantly, though, on the bottom left you see there, we have the Canada Learning Bond and the BCTESG, or the BC Training and Education Savings Grant. These 2 grants are free money. There is never a contribution required to access them, and they total up to $3,200. So a child, without ever putting a cent into that account, or a family ever putting a cent into the RESP account, can access that Canada Learning Bond and the BCTESG. And the reason why the BCTSG is so unique is BC is the only province right now offering a grant such as this. This is $1,200 for every child born in BC who lives in BC the day they turn 6 years old. So this is a great opportunity to work with some of your other partners, as this is not just a low-income family contribution. This is for all BC families. So what we're doing at SmartSAVER now, we're really trying to encourage all families to open RESPs in BC because every family does have something to gain. I'll just quickly note that in order to access all of those coins on the outside ring around the jar, that RESP account is required. So without that account, these government grants are inaccessible. And so we'll get quickly into that now. So I'm sure many of you have heard of RESPs. And I'm just checking the questions, no questions yet. That's great. So many of you have heard of RESPs, and there are many options. There are, in fact, many products with no fees, no minimum contributions, as well with no startup fees. And there are a choice of providers. There are over 70 different RESP providers across Canada. So this adds to a bit of the confusion for parents in terms of where to go and open this account. There are RESP options with savings accounts, GICs, mutual funds. And we find this can lead to some confusion with families on again, where to go and what type of account to open. People also are under the impression that RESPs are rather inflexible as well. Many people believe that RESPs can only be used for full-time studies for a 4-year program at a university within Canada. But the RESPs that we talk about are very broad. They can be open for 36 years, so they're not required to be used right after high school, and they can be used for part-time studies, apprenticeship programs, or college. It's not just 4 years of full-time university study. The other thing that we found that people don't understand about RESPs is it's not only the family that has to open the account. A caregiver can open the account, a grandparent, a cousin or an uncle can open it, even a friend of the family. They'll just have to seek permission from the family to open the account. I'm going to quickly touch on group plan RESPs as well. I'm sure many of you have heard of group plan RESPs. They are quite active in British Columbia. And currently there are 6 group plan providers. You'll notice on the bottom the names. I'll just quickly go through those, as those are quite familiar household names that many people are aware of. And this Canadian Scholarship Trust, Children's Education Fund, Global, Heritage Education Fund, Knowledge First Financial, and in Quebec they have Universitas. So it's the first 5 that you'd be aware of. And while they do offer a solid RESP, they are not something we advise to families. As you see in the large font above, they are complicated financial investments and they're long-term commitments, meaning that once a family signs up for a contract with one of these providers, they have to make monthly contributions or annual contributions for the entirety of the plan. If they miss payments, there are penalties. They can even default and lose their principal amount they've contributed, and they're very difficult to leave once they've been started. So while many families who have RESPs have these accounts already, we do not recommend them for families in order to access the BC grant and the Canada Learning Bond. Will the slides be available after? I have shared the slideshow with Nicole, and this is a question that just popped up, and we are happy for you to share this as well. There are also some talking notes on these slides if you'd like to take this and share this with your community. So I'm just going to move on from group plans. And if anyone does have any questions about these RESP providers, if they've heard of them, and have any comments, feel free to share them with the webinar today. But again, we do not recommend them simply because of the complicated nature of their contracts, and they are difficult to leave. The other thing that I did not mention quickly, they do require contributions, so they are not a free RESP. And what we are here today is help families access free money. So we had that one question. I'll just pause for one moment if anyone has any other questions. Okay, we'll move on. So now we're going to talk about, we've talked about the RESPs and about the different types of RESPs. We're going to be talking about the grants that Joseph was alluding to earlier. So we have 2 programs that are being offered that are completely free contributions into an RESP. We have the Federal Canada Learning Bond, and we have the provincial Province of BC's BCTESG. There's some eligibility criteria here as well. So we're just going to quickly go over that. For the Canada Learning Bond, we have a net family income of $44,701 or less. Children also must be born January 2004 or later. So the Canada Learning Bond is specifically designed for modest income families. So families who have received a National Child Benefit Supplement are also eligible for the Canada Learning Bond, And again, the child has to be born 2004 or later. So these children are turning 13 this year. This is the program that SmartSAVER was built upon. This is the national program. And the learning bond totals $2,000. In BC, which is a fascinating opportunity, children who are age 6 to 9 are going to be eligible for a one-time contribution of $1,200 to the BC TESG. The way this works is applied to a child's RESP on their 6th birthday. And if they're not of age yet, they will receive that on their 6th birthday. Children who are 6 to 9 now are able to access the grant today. And as they age out, they'll have 3 more years after turning 9 to access the grant. So there's lots of time to access it, but we want people to be ready to access it the day their kids turn 6. Some features of the Canada Learning Bond. Again, there's no contribution required, and it is retroactive. And this is a very important feature of this, as many families who aren't eligible today will have years of eligibility in the past. And the way that works is the Learning Bond is not a one-time payment. The Learning Bond is a first-time installment of $500 into an RESP with annual contributions of $100 every year until you see here we reach a maximum of $2,000. So between 0 to 15 years, a child will receive up between $500 and $2,000 depending on eligibility. Again, if they're not eligible this year, if the income is too high, if they're not receiving the National Child Benefit Supplement, they can still receive their bond for any years in the past where they were receiving their National Child Benefit Supplement. And to me, this brings to mind some parents we've been working with recently who are students. They are parents who had children while they were in school. Their incomes were quite low, and albeit their incomes are above the threshold now, they do have 2 or 3 years of eligibility for when they were studying. We also find this with parents where a parent takes maternity leave. If they're self-employed and aren't receiving their regular income, they would be eligible for that 1 year as well. So we invite all parents to apply for the Learning Bond. It's very difficult to think back year after year and think if you were eligible. There's no cost to apply, and it is fully retroactive, and that does get applied by the federal government. So once the application is submitted, they test the income for the years of the child's life, and if they're eligible, the grant will be deposited into the RESP. And just as any funds are from the RESP, it can only be used for education after high school. Just see a couple of questions here. In terms of qualifying for the National Child Benefit Supplement, it's an add-on to the Universal Child Tax Benefit. So it's essentially, if we're talking income tax returns, and we are working on this like right now, they would calculate their income. There'd be deductions placed on that, and based on the income level, they receive their NCBS. It's an annual threshold, so they will have to file their taxes. So again, when they file their taxes, if they are below that 44,701, they would qualify for the National Child Benefit Supplement. So the cutoff for the NCBS is the same cutoff for the Canada Learning Bond. So another question, this came from Allison, is the BC TESG for 44,701 family income or less? The BC TESG is for any family in BC. There is no income test for the BC TESG. The only grant that is income tested is the Canada Learning Bond of the two. So again, Lorraine asks, is net family income relevant to the BC TESG also? Again, the answer is no. All families in BC will be eligible for this one-time installment for the BC TESG. It's a fantastic opportunity for all families in BC. And then we have Kate, who's asked a question here. Does the government do this on their own? The government looks back over past tax years once a family applies, and that's correct. A family will have had to have filed taxes for the eligibility to be determined here, but once that application is submitted, the government does look back over past tax years and calculates the contribution level, and we'll deposit that into the account. Great questions, everyone. Thank you, and don't hold back. Keep them coming if you have them. Okay, so we have some features now of the of the BCTESG. So again, for the BCTESG, no contributions required. It is fully retroactive as well, and it can be accessed with an RESP. There is no income test to receive this. So again, families earning $1 million, families earning $0 in BC can access this as soon as their children turn 6 years old. The one thing I'll note now as well, and I've been going back and forth quite a bit with Nicole and Joseph on this, is that not all providers are currently offering the BC grant. What's excellent, and I understand the partnership between the credit unions of BC, is that all credit unions in BC are offering this grant. So regardless of the credit union, you can rest assured that if families working with the credit union in BC, they're able to access this grant today. Of the major banks, BMO is the only one, Bank of Montreal is the only one offering the grant today. Off of the ministry website in BC, we have also learned that RBC and Scotiabank are very close to offering this. They will have this available as of spring 2016. And TD, we have late 2016, but we received word this week that it's actually going to be towards August of 2016, so quite close. Families who choose these banks will have to revisit them to complete the application for the BC grant, but that's the really only hold up between banking with RBC, Scotia, or TD versus a credit union or BMO. CIBC is the one bank here who we don't have a timeline in regards to when they're going to offer the grant. They all will in due time, but this is the schedule we're working with currently.
So I'll just jump in there, Luke, because I think this is a question and I guess a bit of a complication for many communities across the province. Just wanting to make this as clear as possible, not wanting to send families into their financial institution to then be turned away and told, we can't do this for you right now. So I think it is important that everyone on the call, that we appreciate that there is a bit of a process, and it's where we don't have that kind of full commitment or full availability of financial institutions at this point. As Luke pointed out very critically, to certainly to Success by 6, where we do have our provincial partner, the BC credit unions involved. There is that the fact that they are all participating at this point. However, we do need to be just careful about telling parents, well, you can only go to the credit unions in order to establish these grants, but rather to make sure that they're informed that this is where it can be done in their community right now, but these other financial institutions will eventually be able to offer this process, and as we heard, it is retroactive in that sense.
Thanks, Joseph. And I'll just quickly mention too, BMO is seeing a huge surge in their traffic because of this. We heard from our contacts there. They've already accessed over $500,000 in BCTESG grants for families in BC. So they are seeing a huge increase in participation with BC families because of this grant. So again, I think it is valuable for parents to know where they can get it now as opposed to have to wait for it. So thank you for adding that.
And perhaps I'll just add finally that in terms of those credit unions, our provincial Success by 6 office is working with Central One Credit Union that provides information and communication to the credit unions across BC, just making sure that they are receiving all this information and will be providing awareness in the community on their end about for parents to access this. So we're currently working through how the tellers at the credit unions will be ensuring that if families come in to do their banking, they'll be alerted to go through this process. So we'll have more on that in the weeks ahead.
That's excellent. I look forward to hearing about that too. I'm just going to quickly jump into a couple of questions here. So June asked, can you move RESPs from bank to bank? Yes, June. The key here being bank to bank. As long as we're not talking one of these group plans, they are able to transfer that account. Essentially what they would do is they'd close the account down, transfer the funds, and then any grants would then be redeposited into that new account. No fees, no costs, no loss of any principal for the family. In fact, my sister-in-law just moved hers from TD to RBC. I helped her do it, and it took a couple of months for the grants to be redeposited into the new account, but again, there was no loss or cost there. Lorraine has also asked here, what about families that have RESPs through the group plans? We know if the group plans have the BCT-ESG. Yes, they do. The only one that does not offer it currently is Canadian Scholarship Trust, but they will be offering it in the spring. And one thing I have to say about group plans is RESPs are their business. So they are very strong on promoting these grants and making sure parents have access to them. So they will certainly have it, and all of the group plans are offering the BCT ESG as well. And the requirement age for the child for the BCT ESG, Amber asked, what is the requirement of the age of the child for the BCT ESG? So again, I'm just going to scroll up here. It's for children aged 6 to 9, and those children had to have been 9 or under as of January 1st of 2015. That was last year. Given there is a complicated grace period to this, so children who are 9 currently will have until the age of 12 to access it, whereas children turning 6 today will only have until their 9th birthday to access it. So we really recommend, accessing this grant as soon as possible. So there's no chance that window is missed. That being said, again, with RESP providers, they're always looking to find more contributions to their accounts. We're under the impression that they'll be very aggressive in making sure families are accessing this if they already have an account open as well, and presenting them with the application. So thank you for asking that. We're going to quickly shift gears here to that CESG portion as well. We talked about the free money already through the Canada Learning Bond and the BCT ESG, but I think I'd be remiss to not talk about what is the most utilized grant in the Canada Education Savings Program portfolio, that being the Canada Education Savings Grant. And the reason why this is the most utilized is that every family in Canada is eligible for this if they have an RESP. Regardless of income levels, all families are going to receive a matching grant from the government. And the reason I bring this up, even though we're talking about free money today, when I talk with families, and I talk with a lot of families, I'll always start with the free RESP. I'll always say, I'm sure you've heard of RESPs, but this one you can access for free. You can go to your bank and open the account, get your Canada Learning Bond, get your BC grant, never put $1 of your own and access this free money. The question I always get back is, but what if I want to put my own money? And that's just not anecdotal. We know that 95% of accounts, this is a federal government statistic provided to us, that 95% of accounts, once opened, are receiving contributions because of this program. And I'll quickly break down how this works. We see that the families with an income level of $89,000, this is a combined net family income of $89,402, will receive a 20% match. So families with 89,402 or higher, if they put $1 into the account, they're going to receive a 20-cent contribution from the federal government. Sliding over to the left, we see that the families earning 4702 between 89,401 are going to receive a 30% match on every dollar contributed. And finally, we see families that are Canada Learning Bond eligible or National Child Benefit Supplement eligible, earning less than 44,701 are entitled to a 40% match. And this is great, not just for the family to keep in mind, but I use this nugget to tell everyone. So I have a 1-year-old right now, and everyone knows the RESP account's open. And I've told everyone, if you put $10 into his account, you're really giving him 14. And I think when parents see that there's all these sources and ways to help build on savings, it really motivates them to get started. I'll quickly mention now as well, the RESPs that SmartSAVER promotes through the banks and credit unions are also flexible in terms of withdrawing the contribution from the account. So it's never locked away. So a parent can put $1 in today, withdraw the dollar tomorrow, and use it for anything they need. The only thing that will happen, the grant will be returned to the government. So again, there's no loss for the family. The learning bond and BC grant can remain in the RESP, but their money at any of the major banks or credit unions can be withdrawn with no penalty or no fee. So again, the message there is the lower the income, the bigger the match. In terms of what's required here, a family does need social insurance numbers for both the parent and for the child they're applying for. The reason this is done is because it's income tested. It's also a registered account. So when they do the income test, they require a social insurance number to pull the tax file up. I mention this because there are some of the group plans who will offer to open RESPs for families without social insurance numbers. But without the social insurance numbers, the family will not be able to receive any of the grants available. And this includes the grants being offered by the BC government because the RESP is required. So first step for families, if they want to take the next step towards accessing RESPs, is to make sure they have that social insurance number. And that can be accessed for free. They do charge for replacements, but in my experience, you're able to enter a Service Canada office and they'll print off the social insurance number at no cost. They've actually eliminated the red and white card you see on the slide here. So families with newborns now will only receive an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in the mail. So the thing to keep in mind here is the social insurance number card is not required at the appointment. If families go into the bank and they verify the ID, they're simply, all they need to do is verbally disclose the social insurance number. We find that bank staff can often get overly involved in the process and ask for a visual proof of ID, but again, this is not required. And this is a role where SmartSAVER can help as well. If families are having negative experiences with the banks, we are happy to intervene and to escalate the complaint to find out what happened and find a solution. This leads us to what SmartSAVER has evolved into. And so one side we have, you see in our top right corner, the I'm learning, tell me more. That's going to take you to our website with information in 16 different languages. The other side to our site, which you're seeing now, is our online application for RESPs. So what we've done is we've approached RESP providers across Canada and asked them if they're willing to open a no-fee, no-contribution plan, and if so, would they like to take part in this application? So it's a voluntary process to join this application. Currently, we have Bank of Montreal, TD Bank, Scotiabank, Royal Bank, and Van City Credit Union available in BC. So we are hoping to add some of the smaller credit unions, but for the time being, Van City is available for those who wish to work with a credit union. And you can see here, families can complete the application in English or French, and they can have support in English, Mandarin, Punjabi, or Spanish. So just scrolling down, you see the logos of our partners there who are part of this application. And again, each of them has guaranteed that any application on here will not be charged fees or will be required to contribute to the RESP. Reason I'm mentioning this, if you're recommending this to parents as an avenue to use, you can rest assured that they're not going to be pressured to contribute any funds of their own if they're not comfortable doing so. So families choose a financial institution of their choice. They enter the social insurance number for the child, and you see the visual is quite clear. We need the name displayed as it is on the card. We pick the birth date, and we ask for the gender of the child. If there's a grant in Saskatchewan that's similar to the BC grant, so we ask that, whereas in BC we know that they're eligible, so we don't need to ask that question. And then we complete the process. And the process there is the application is sent from the online application to the head office of their chosen institution. From there, the family receives a phone call to schedule an appointment with the bank at their convenience. The application is sent to that local branch, and in about 5 minutes, the family will go in, verify photo ID and the social insurance number, sign some forms, and their RESP will be opened, and they'll be receiving their grants. And that's the back end of what we do. That being said, there is nothing wrong with families who want to go directly to their bank. The RESP application is simply there to make things easier and smooth the transition for families that want to go that path. But we do recommend families, if they have a good relationship with a bank teller or bank staff, to contact them directly and go in, just because we know that leads to positive outcomes as well. So on that note, I'm going to leave it here. I think we're doing pretty good for time, actually. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to stay on the line, but I'm going to quickly pop over to this slide too, and I'll leave this up here as we close out this webinar. But before I turn it back over to Joseph, I just want to mention a few things that are happening in BC right now in terms of promotion of this grant. So SmartSAVER has partnered with the Ministry of Education as well as the Ministry of Child and Family Development to boost awareness on this grant. So we're working with school districts currently to get information out to families on how to access this. And for the Ministry of Child and Family Development, we're working particularly to help them help children in care to access their RESPs. There are 7,000 children in care across the province who are eligible for these grants, eligible for RESPs, who don't have them yet. So we're working with them and the Victoria Foundation to make sure they do. Where I think this training can play a big role in the rollout of this to the province is that the Ministry of Education is planning a back-to-school campaign this fall. People will be asking questions, people will be skeptical, people will say, yeah, right, free money doesn't exist. And I'm sure you're all chuckling to yourself because until I started this job, I didn't believe it either. But you know, this is a real opportunity, and I think when I met with Joseph and Nicole, that doubt was there at the start, but now I think they're starting to see the size of this in the province. There are over 150,000 children in BC who are going to be eligible for this BC grant, and there are around 180,000 children who are eligible for the Canada Learning Bond. And these are children who haven't yet accessed it yet. So I think by getting in front of you today, sharing my knowledge or our knowledge of SmartSAVER and hopefully breaking down some of the barriers and myths around RESPs, we can get you to act as a resource and get you to encourage families to go down this path as opposed to say, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. So with that sort of attitude, I hope you can take this information and share it with people and let them know how to access it. So I have a question here from Kate. So Kate asked, my understanding is that parents have to apply for the $1,200 if they already have an RESP open. The grant isn't deposited automatically into the RESP. Is this correct? You are correct, Kate. Families with RESPs already will have to go into their provider and ask for it. We are assuming, and again, this is an assumption, so we don't want to act on it. We are assuming that the banks are going to be rolling out information to staff to tell families to ask for this program, or to even send letters out to families who have RESPs telling them they're eligible for this. But again, they would still have to take the step of applying for it and going into the bank to sign off. So families with RESPs, and this is a great message as well. If you run into a family and you say, hey, have you heard of the BCTESG? And they say, yeah, don't worry, I already have my RESP. No, they don't have their BCTESG, and you can be the person that tells them that they need to access it and take the credit for that. So thank you for asking that question. We assume with the group plans, they are going to act aggressively to get people signed up. So they'll be going door to door to their clients until everyone has accessed it, but the banks will not do that. Lorraine asked if there's an information brochure we can distribute, and we are certainly working on something right now for Success by 6. We have a postcard that we like to call a 2-minute workshop here at SmartSAVER, and we will be printing and sending or getting you a print file shortly on that. The other pamphlet that's available, there is a federal government brochure. I will send along the information on how to order that directly from the government. There's no cost to doing that, and we will make sure you get that information.
I'll jump in there, Luke, just because we have provided some of those main, I guess, brochure documents, the kind of simple overview. And we will be providing more, but I guess it's important that for all of the people on the call that if you are needing some of those resources, we've got them connected with the webinar as well. And as you mentioned as well, we are kind of combining logos so that people are aware where this information is coming from, and hopefully that will give them a sense of the I guess the veracity of the information. But certainly, if anyone in your community you're feeling like a need to make that information more localized, or that this isn't perhaps clear enough, I think SmartSAVER is prepared to, if we're feeling like there's a need for other support material, that's something we can look into as well if that's necessary.
Certainly. And on that note, Joseph, I'll just point out those 3 handouts on here. We have an action map. It's in the handout tab on the dashboard. So an action map which gives you some guides on how to help families access social insurance number or RESPs depending on their needs. We have a quick reference chart which references the income levels and what grants families are eligible for, including the BC grant. And then we have that final fact sheet which gives, as Joseph mentioned, a good snapshot of what's happening right now. Thank you for bringing that up. I have one more question here from Heidi, asking, what about children living in 2 households, separated parents? So, good question. We get into some issues here around the marital status of the couple, whether it's a separation or divorce. Essentially, if it's a separation, they would still be filing their income tax together. Therefore, it would be based on the net family income. That being said, the person who has to sign off on the account is the person who is receiving the National Child Benefit Supplement for the child. So whoever has their name as the recipient for the benefit supplement, whether it's the universal child tax benefit or the national child tax benefit, they would be the person to sign off on the account. With a divorced household, it would be 2 separate incomes, and the account could be opened by both parents. In a separated household, one thing we typically will run into is a parent who is a non-custodial parent, so the parent who is not receiving the NCUPS is wanting to open the account for their child, but they're not able to without permission from the other parent. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do in that situation, as that's between the 2 parents. But what we would recommend them to do is there's a form that can be provided by the bank or credit union that is an authorization form that can be completed by the other parent. Again, I try to stay out of the politics of the relationship on like how to ask for that. But the non-custodial parent would need permission from the custodial parent to open an account for the child.
Thanks, Luke. And I think we've got a little bit of time left here, so I'm going to hopefully not take a more confusing pathway here, but there is another feature that SmartSAVER is providing. I guess in recognizing that organizations are playing a key role in connecting parents to this opportunity, and I'm going to ask Denise, who's in the Fraser Valley, our Success by 6 Community Development Coordinator, and working in connection with the United Way in the Fraser Valley, just to explain to us how in their community they've both used, I guess they've leveraged public awareness to bring a connection through their school district, but also through an opportunity as a fundraising initiative as well in connection with SmartSAVER. So Denise, can you just give us a quick overview of what that's looked like in your community, and some other comments as in the Fraser Valley, things have been very much ahead of the game in many respects.
Sure. So United Way, being the fiscal host for Success by 6, took on the role of connecting with SmartSAVER as far as the online application. So anytime someone goes through this unique URL with SmartSAVER, that indicates that they got the information through the Eastern Fraser Valley Success by 6. SmartSAVER pays the United Way $25, and our executive director at the United Way, because the information is going out through a partnership with Success by 6, agreed that that $25 would go back into the Success by 6 account. And I think to date, maybe Luke knows the number better than I think we're sitting at about 89 online applications so far. So that's been amazing. And what we also know is for every one person that actually goes online through the SmartSAVER URL, about 9 people, is that correct, Luke?
Yep.
9 people actually have walked into a financial institution to open one up, not feeling comfortable doing it online. So if we think about that in numbers, we're looking at a lot of people just in the Eastern Fraser Valley have already registered through our campaign. So we're talking, over 800 people and over $2,200 for Success by 6. Just through what we've done so far. And what we have done is we were able to connect with the school districts in the Eastern Fraser Valley, and 3 out of the 4 of them agreed to distribute it not only through their schools, but using their logo on that flyer as well. So we had the Success by 6 logo, SmartSAVER United Way, and then the school district logo. And that was key because, again, like you were saying, it gives some validity to the information, the fact that the school district, because they don't put their logo on just anything, and it was being sent through the school district did more than just distribute it. They put their logo on it as well. So that was really helpful. So that went to every student in the Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and Mission school districts. That certainly helped with our success. What we've also been able to do is through the Children First ECD coordinators is we've gone to all the Strong Starts and done 5-minute presentations as we drop off the flyers. We've done it at our ECD table meetings, and we've also made sure that we've connected with the, for Abbotsford, we've connected with our credit union partners as well. And like I said, through that we, so far, just to date, and I think we started about in the middle of November, we've seen over 90 online applications, or 89 online applications. So that's been really fantastic. We also just ordered roll-up banners that we'll be able to put at various events to be able to further encourage parents to register for an RESP for their children and just give out that information.
Thanks so much, Denise.
The one thing I'll just quickly add to that as well, part of what we were able to do with United Way Fraser Valley was to share with them national take-up rate data. I've talked to Joseph and Nicole about this as well. I will share with them the province's take-up rate data according to forward sorting area, which is the first 3 digits in a postal code. So we're able to tell you not only the percentage take-up rate in those postal codes, but also the actual number of children who are living there who are eligible. And I find that that's another great piece to help motivate people to access this.
So Luke, perhaps you can just, as we heard from Denise, their United Way and their community is now benefiting from online SmartSAVER, I guess, applications, as it were. And so I can let everyone on the call know that this is certainly a situation that can be established, whether it's a United Way or other organizations. But just if you can just quickly give us a sense, Luke, of how that process looks and what's involved in it, as we're currently figuring that out with United Ways and other organizations, how to use this fundraising opportunity?
Certainly. So the way that our partnership or our community incentive program, we like to call it, works is it is voluntary as well, and it's open to any group that's a registered charity or not-for-profit. It's not available to businesses. It's not available to governments. So again, I think this is right up your alley with some of the groups that you're working with. But again, what it does is it provides an incentive for partners to help offset some of the costs with promoting RESPs. I see Kate here has said, Ready, Set, Learn, and Welcome to Kindergarten are coming, and I promote RESPs at all these events, as well as every community events. And it is part of our information sharing, and it goes into baby bags. The idea behind this is that there are costs to doing that, and we recognize that at SmartSAVER, and we look to our partners to really encourage families to access RESPs because of the trust level that they have with families. You know, who's Luke from SmartSAVER? Nobody knows me, but you know they do know you and your communities. So when you say this is a good thing, we know it has an impact. And again, there is a cost to that. So we've worked with our financial providers on the application. Each of them contributes towards this community incentive. And again, for every applicant generated through through our Start My RESP application, $25 goes back towards those partner organizations to be used in any way, shape, or form to help promote RESPs. The way we are able to do this is we are creating a custom URL for our partners, so a custom website. So, for example, in Fraser Valley, we have startmyresp.ca/UWFV. So that's United Way Fraser Valley. So every family that goes through that URL is going to trigger that incentive. And on the back side of the application as well, families are offered logos of our partner agencies, and they're able to click again or click the logo there if they did not come through the custom URL. I'm not sure if that provides enough insight there.
No, I think that's just great, Luke. I think that, as I said, we're trying to coordinate and organize United Ways across the province, but it's important to note that non-profit societies across the province are also able to go through this process as well, to be recognized for their role in supporting this process. So I see we're just about coming to the end of our time. There's a question there from June about how can a community get that information about take-up rates, and that's Luke who can be followed up. His contact information we'll make sure is all very much available, so he can be followed up individually. But I guess it seems like there aren't any more questions, and I feel like we've covered a tremendous amount of information. I think Luke has done an incredible job of just expressing how critical it is, this awareness raising, this overcoming the reluctance, anything that can be done to ensure that a parent recognizes that this is a great opportunity and shouldn't be feared or shouldn't have any concerns. It's a critical role that you are as community coordinators, as service providers in the early years are doing to get this message out there and make sure that parents are feeling confident about proceeding and accessing these funds. So I'll end our call today. First by thanking Luke, thanking Denise for coming on and giving us some specific examples from her community. And I will just turn your attention to our upcoming webinar series. So building on this great information session, in March we'll be hearing about how some communities have been doing just an inspiring job of developing children's charters. So working with the ideas of the rights of the child. So our colleagues at Equitas, who are an organization focused around children's rights, have been supporting several different communities in creating these children's charters. So we'll hear about that process, those supports, and what those children's charters look like. From there, in April, we'll be hearing, looking at several different examples of State of the Child reports. So these are reports that take all the data that have a significance to families with young children in a region or community. So looking at the early development instrument, at census data, at housing, childcare costs, things of that of the like, and putting that together in a brief and effective package that can be mobilized, can be used to mobilize the community to respond to early childhood needs and realities. In May, we'll be hearing about new and innovative leadership models for early years planning. So we'll be looking at a few examples from the Comox Valley, from the interior. We'll be really trying to get a sense of what are some different ways that early years planning tables and leadership models can bring together the different sectors and the decision makers involved in early years planning. So a very interactive session there. And in June, we'll be looking particularly at a great model of early years screening networks that's been established in the interior, seeing how that's working, what are the resources that are available for communities across the province to be able to develop their own networks and use these resources to make early years screening that much more accessible and planning that much easier to reach out to families and to provide different events and health fairs within a region. So some great opportunities ahead. So I'll end this webinar once again thanking Luke, ensuring that all of you recognize that he's available, and SmartSAVER and Success by 6 are working together to make all this information as easily accessible and as helpful in your work as possible, and to just once again encourage you to use the information we've broached today to reach out to service providers and reach out to families in your communities across the province. So thanks to all for participating, and we'll talk to you, if not before, on March 22nd for our next webinar. Thanks a lot.